Welcome back to Green and Gold now, episode 2, week 1 at the Bears. And we are now joined here by American Football Network. Lincoln, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How about you? Thank you for having me on.
No problem. I'm good as well. So, tell the people who don't know what you do on your channel. Most of the Soldier Squad should, considering that you are regularly on our channel, whether it's on video or stream or in the comment section. Um, just kind of tell me what you do.
Yeah, we're American Football Network, so obviously a big focus on football, of course. So right now we're kind of into the stage. College football's already starting, so we're doing a bunch of college football. You've been on with us this past week and hopefully well, you won't be able to join us this week, you said. Hopefully get back with us in 2 weeks from now as we stream some of the biggest games each weekend as far as college goes. Gonna try to get into some NFL streaming, or I don't know what y'all have thought about and planned as far as NFL streaming. Maybe join y'all. But yeah, gonna get some more NFL content out. Gonna get some Packers preview video. Start trying to do that every week, and start trying to do maybe a Jaguars video preview once every week too, as I am sort of a Jaguars fan as well, with Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne both being there as a Clemson fan.
Yeah, and you don't just have your YouTube channel; you also have the A Town Baseball podcast, and you have another one for the Nats as well, right?
That's right. That's right.
So make sure to check all that out. Just go to his channel, and you probably can find the links to everything. But now to what we're really here for. It's this Packers Bears game. Tomorrow. This is probably going to be drops tomorrow. Today, I don't know when this is being dropped. Um, Packers playing the Bears Sunday, 4:25 Eastern, 3:25 Central. Jordan Love's first game as the guy for the Pack. Give me just your initial thoughts on this game, I guess.
I'm kind of sad going into this game that this is like the first year that I actually have to worry. Oh shoot, the Bears might beat us because as we all know, Aaron Rodgers, he owns the Bears. He made it known to the public last season, um, and then we come into this season. It'll be interesting to see. I think we're still in a good spot. I don't think that I don't think this is a game that we're going to lose necessarily, but I also don't think it's one that we can just say we're going to win. I think we probably split with the Bears this season, which, I think we might lose this game with it being a road game. But you never know. It's week one. Like you said, a lot of new stuff around both teams. The Bears, they got a lot of new stuff in with DJ Moore working out chemistry with that. They got some new offensive line pieces, some new defensive pieces. They're without Roquan Smith now. Then you look at the Packers side of the ball, like you mentioned, you bring in some more wide receivers on the edge. You bring in Van Ness at the defense. You got some new rookies in there that you're excited about. You got some of your receivers from last year with Dubs and Watson going into year two, and you got Jordan Love. He's been in the NFL and out of college for 4 years now. He's going into his first season as the guy for the Packers, filling Aaron Rodgers' footsteps. He's only played in 3 games in the regular season, only started one. It's going to be interesting what happens in this game. I don't think we really know anything about Jordan Love, as far as how he is as a quarterback in a regular season game. Because yeah, it's nice to see him in preseason, but that's just kind of more of his footwork and stuff like that. Not really how he's going to play in game and adjust to situations in game. So I'm excited to see how that plays out from the Packers.
Yeah, last year, if I can pull up Jordan Love's stats here, and I know I talked about this. I think I talked about it last episode, or maybe this episode as well. Is these segments are being filmed on different days throughout the week leading up to this game. But last year, Jordan Love, again, he was drafted 2020, so sat behind Rodgers for 3 years. Last year, Love, he was 14 for 21, a 67% completion percentage, 195 yards, a touchdown, no picks, no sacks, and a passer rating of 112.2. So I mean that's a good stat line for a backup. The real hope I get, as my dad had mentioned in the last episode that was posted on Thursday, um, is that I mean, look at him in the Philly game. He led the team to 10 points against one of the best defenses in the NFL, including a 63-yard touchdown pass to Christian Watson.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's definitely had some good moments. But I just want to see what he looks like over the course of a full season. And you
Exactly.
think here's another thing that gets overlooked too. All right, so I'm gonna go. I'll bring in. I'll talk about Clemson right here because I think this is kind of a similar scenario. Maybe not really, but me and Reichley, the football expert who was on earlier, um, me and him kind of talked about it with Cade Klubnik and Clemson. So, last year he's not the guy going into the season. He knows he's not the guy. Then he gets his opportunity to play in the ACC championship in the Orange Bowl, and he looks good. Like he looks really good in the ACC championship. Looked good for the most part in the Orange Bowl. Then you look at a Monday night against Duke, and you're like, what the heck happened? And so it can be a lot different from just getting a spontaneous start or two or playing a majority of a game here or there than it is to go into the season knowing, all right, this is my team. I'm the guy. All the pressure's on me. Everybody's talking about me. And I do think that is a little bit different considering Jordan Love is an adult, not a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah.
But I still think that is a lot of pressure to put on still a younger guy, a guy who doesn't have much NFL experience at all. Is how's that going to change this season? With it? How's he going to react to being the guy? There's not really anybody else that can even compete with him in the quarterback room. He is the guy,
Yeah.
and so I'm
Yeah.
interested to see how that works out and
Yeah.
how he plays.
I will say, I feel like the expectation among Packers fans isn't that he'll do that well, though. I feel like the pressure is off to a certain extent. Obviously, just being the quarterback of the Packers brings the pressure itself to a certain degree, but I don't think there's that. I mean, it's not like no one thinks we're winning the Super Bowl. I mean, you say so. Some people say the Packers will win the division. Personally, I don't see it, as I talked about last episode, but it could happen. This division isn't very strong. Obviously, Thursday night, you had the Lions kicking it off in Kansas City to start off the year. And they seem to be the division winners, based off of just odds and things like that. Everyone else obviously playing Sunday. Um, but I mean, it'll be really interesting to see how this team does. And then I will say, while we're on the topic of young players, how about this wide receiver core? Watson, Dobbs, Toure, Reed, Wicks, and Heath are your top six guys. And I mean, I have every player who I don't know what I'm going to get out of them folded on this Google Doc I'm looking at right now. And all six of those guys are there, as well as the three tight ends, Musgrave, Kraft, Guara. I mean, just tell me a little bit of what you expect from this wide receiver core.
Yeah, so from the receivers, I expect Watson and Dobbs to kind of take that next step. I think for this team to have that kind of success and finish first or second in the division, I think Watson has to be over 1,000 yards, which I'm just not sure he does this year. But I think we're in a good spot with him as far as development and stuff goes. If he's around 800, 850 yards at the end of the season, then you look at Dobbs. It would be really good if he can get to about 600-700 yards this season and kind of put himself in as that second receiver. And then Jaden Reed. There's been a lot of hype of this guy in the preseason and in camp. I think the Packers definitely hit it right whenever they drafted him. I think they definitely got that pick right. I think that Reed is a great receiver. I think he's going to turn into a great NFL receiver. And I expect a lot out of these receivers this year. I think they're all going to play pretty well. But to me, the passing game is not about the receivers. It's more about what you mentioned, the tight ends. We sort of know what to expect out of these receivers, as most of them have had a year in the league. And I think with this run game that we're gonna have, which is obviously gonna be elite and top 10 in the NFL, I think that I think that getting these tight ends involved is going to be key. You can run some play action, run these receivers deep if it's open, great. If not, hit your check down and Luke Musgrave. He showed at Oregon State that he was dangerous on the checkdowns. But not only that, I think the biggest part is I don't see us getting many of those, 63-yard touchdown passes like you talked about. So I like these guys in the red zone
Yeah,
a lot better than a lot better than I like our receivers necessarily in the red zone. Um, I think Musgrave is a huge red zone target. I think Kraft and DeGuara are more blocking tight ends. I think Kraft does have a little bit of a receiving game than DeGuara does, but I think Kraft is definitely a guy who is gonna be out there and be basically an extra offensive lineman during run plays.
yeah. I mean, I will say though, I feel like I think we're going to see Christian Watson go deep a lot compared to other guys. I think he's going to be that deep threat. Maybe some more Toure as well with the speed he has. He led all Packers receivers in the average yards per catch last year. I think he had 16 or so. Um, and I mean, then we can talk also. We talked about Tucker Kraft being kind of an extra lineman. How about this offensive line? David Bakhtiari apparently fully healthy. And then you look at Elkton Jenkins. You have Josh Nyman, Zach Tom. Hopefully, we'll see some of him. Josh Myers, John Runyon, both somewhat question marks. Runyon doesn't get that much talk as he's there. He's not that good. He's not that bad. And Myers had a bad preseason.
Yeah, Myers had a really good rookie year last year. But yeah, you said it. Terrible preseason. Um, so we'll see. I like this offensive line if they're healthy and playing to their potential. But I think the season kind of depends on them and the running backs to be in the defense. As far as the offense go, it to me really depends on this offensive line. Because a young quarterback like Jordan Love, he's going to need time to throw the football. He's not going to be like Rodgers and be able to snap it and 2 seconds later, guys in his face, and he's able to run around and make stuff happen. So I like this offensive line going into the season. I'm a little worried about this offensive line, though, going into the season. It's an older offensive line. Our best guy and the leader on that O line, and Bakhtiari, has been injured basically the last two and a half seasons. And then you get to the point with Josh Myers. That's our center, and he had a terrible, terrible preseason. So, some things definitely need to improve on the offensive line, but I think it's a solid unit going into the season, and I think they definitely have room to get better, but definitely a lot of room where they could fall off and get worse.
And then before we touch on the defense, you mentioned it a couple of times. This run game, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, possibly the best 1-2 duo in the NFL. I mean, I'm thinking they're up there without a doubt with DeAndre Swift and whoever the Eagles' number 2 is going to be, whether it's Kenny Gainwell or Rashad Penny. And if it's Gainwell, I mean, with the way Penny's played in the preseason, I'm going to say the Packers have the best 1-2 punch of any team in the league. Aaron Jones is without a doubt a top 10, if not a top 5 running back. I expect him to have a big year. I also really extra hope he has a big year, considering that, not only am I a Packers fan, but he's also on both of my fantasy teams. So
Oh, yeah.
I need him to do pretty well. And I think he will. I think he's going to have a big year for the Packers. Obviously, A.J. Dillon, it's a prove-it year for him. He's going to be Mr. Ground and Pound. We'll also see Aaron Jones in the passing game to a certain extent. But, I mean, I really do think that this run game is going to be great, and it really does also open up that play-action pass, which is going to lead to a lot of bigger plays for the Packers.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited for this running game. Um, I think we have two really good running backs. I think that they're going to be a problem for teams, and I think that that's going to be the biggest key for us this season is just always having that running game to fall back on, regardless of what we get stuck in. So I'm glad to have those two guys coming into the season on my team.
Yeah, and now to the other side of the ball, it's that defense. Kenny Clark, Preston Smith, Devondre Campbell, Rashawn Gary, Jair Alexander. That to me is the big five. Obviously, you look at Rasul Douglas, Darnell Savage, guys like that. The new additions defensively, Lucas Van Ness on the line. I think he's going to play there. It makes sense, talent wise, for him to play there. Just when you look at who the Packers have on that line, and then in the secondary, Carrington Valentine, the draft pick. We could be seeing a decent amount of him. Because I mean, on like when they run four horn or something like that, because he really is. I mean, he played great in the preseason. And then you look at Jonathan Owens and Tarvarius Moore, both safeties, probably will get some playing time. Free agents signed. So I mean, also Rudy Ford, Eric Stokes, Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt. Those four need to have decently big years for the Packers to do well. So I mean, just tell me your thoughts on this defense.
I need those last four you just named to have big seasons for us.
Yeah.
I need those four guys to absolutely, especially Stokes, Walker, and Wyatt, the three Georgia guys. I need them guys to play like the other Georgia guys that have been put in the NFL off that same defense as them. I need them to play like a Jalen Carter played in the preseason, a Jordan Davis has played, like a Nakobe Dean has played. I need them to step up and play like those kind of guys. And they just haven't done that. They haven't lived up to their first-round pick hype yet. But I think that they could have a pretty good season. I want to see Quay Walker actually mature a little bit and not make some of the stupid bonehead plays he made at the end of last season. I think if those four guys can step it up and play pretty solid for us, I think we're set because especially on the defensive side, I think Van Ness is going to be a problem. He's huge. He's got a lot of bag of tricks to pull out down there on the defensive line. You look at Kenny Clark in the middle, absolute brick wall. Gary coming off the best season of his career by far. Preston Smith, another good pass rusher down there on the D-line. Then you look, we have the second, first, third, top three cornerback in the league in Jair Alexander. Non-debatable. He's a top three corner.
Set it out.
You mentioned Douglas. Douglas, he's not up there anywhere near where Alexander's at. He's a very good corner to cover another team's wide receiver too, though. And then you look at in the secondary, I need a big year from Darnell Savage. I need a big year from him at the safety position because he's another guy that was, he played pretty good early on in his career. Then the last year or two, he's been a little bit shaky, battled some injuries, but I need him to bounce back this year for us pretty big. But I think we got a good defensive unit. I think that they're going to be pretty well for us.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we talked about the Pack, but we sadly, I mean, I know we've already talked about them. We have to talk about the Bears. Like, I know it sucks, but Justin Fields, what do you see from him in this game?
He's going to be a problem. He's going to be a problem because you give him DJ Moore. This is a guy Fields in college. I remember this very well against my Clemson Tigers. Do it 60-something yards, perfect spiral with 2 broken ribs, perfectly placed football. This dude can throw the football, and he can throw it better than a lot of people in the NFL. He's definitely a top 20 quarterback. I'm not going to bump him up yet because, I mean, pure passing talent, he's top 10. But, he's still got some other things to work on, which comes with being a young quarterback in the NFL going into year 3. But, I mean, I think he had the best rookie year out of anybody in his draft class. Maybe Mac Jones had a better year, but I also think Mac Jones was on a much better football team than Fields was on. I think Trevor is kind of set his ground as the best quarterback in that class, like we all thought he would. But I think Fields is a sneaky second right in there behind him. I think a lot of people overlooked Fields in the draft, obviously, as he fell to like 11 or 10, something like that to the Bears. I think Fields is the second best quarterback in this draft class now, behind Trevor Lawrence, and I think it's going to stay that way with them kind of 1 and 2, kind of pretty close to each other. I think Fields can hurt you in a lot of ways, through the air, on the ground. Pretty smart football player. And so now you give him an elite wide receiver like DJ Moore to throw the ball to, because that's another problem. The Bears' offensive line is still not good, but they at least have somebody for him to throw the ball to who can get open for him, because last season the offensive line sucked and so did the receivers. But now they finally have a receiver. Darnell Mooney will be healthy for them. I think the Bears could have a pretty good offensive team. Defensively, I'm not so sure what that looks like for them. I don't really know what their defense is going to be. They're obviously going to be without Roquan Smith. We'll see what happens with the Bears in this football game. I think it's going to be a close game regardless of which way it falls. But I do think the Bears could cause a little bit of problem for the Packers.
Yeah. And I'll say this, with your comments on the Bears here, I'm just going to name some names that are on this team. You said Justin Fields, you said DJ Moore, also Darnell Mooney, as you said, Chase Claypool as the number 3 receiver. He was obviously good in Pittsburgh. Nate Davis, a huge pickup on the offensive line. And then you look to the defense. This linebacking core, it's not terrible. TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, Jack Sanborn, the kid out of Wisconsin, also there. But Edwards and Edmonds are both really good linebackers that scare me. And then you got Eddie Jackson as well. I also see this being close. And also, of course, they have the former Packers, Lucas Patrick, Equanimeous St. Brown, Robert Tonyan, and Mercedes Lewis. All backups except for Patrick.
The Bears now, they've turned into just our retirement home for all of our tight ends.
Exactly. Them and the Jets have become, I mean, if you put those two teams together, you essentially have the Packers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we talked about both teams. Any other thoughts you have before we go to the score predictions?
Just want to see what Jordan Love looks like after 30-plus years of Hall of Fame quarterback play in Green Bay. I want to see what he follows that up with.
Yeah, that will be exciting. Everyone, I think, kind of knows my take at this point. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I said Bears 27-24. I think that's what I said. Could be wrong, but I think that's what I said earlier. I'm going to stick with that. Give me your thoughts here.
Yeah, I'm going Bears 24-20. I think that, like I said earlier, I think the Packers split with them. But I think with this game being at Chicago, I think that the Bears probably win this game. But, hey, Packers fans, don't be discouraged just because we were Packers fans. We picked the Bears. The Packers definitely have a real shot at winning this game. I mean, we just don't know what we're going to get from the Packers as much as we know what Fields is at least going to give us for the Bears. So this is going to be a very good game, though. Look out, because the Packers could come out and win this game by 10 points. Don't be discouraged, Packers fans. But, yeah, I'm going 24-20 Bears. I think it's a close, hard-fought game, and I think we come up just short in the end.
Yeah, Sunday afternoon, you can see me on Sorchi Stories. I don't know what I'm going to do today. I found out Packers and Eagles are playing at the same time. They flexed the Eagles. So, for sure, a Packers live stream with eyes on the Eagles game. Here at the Sorgi Story Studios in Philadelphia. So I think that will do it for us. Any final thoughts?
Go Pack, go.
Yeah, go Pack. So we will see you all later. Make sure to tune in next week and on Sunday. Sunday, again, Packers live stream next week. Packers-Falcons, Green and Gold Now episode 3. If you haven't yet, watch episode 1, the season preview. And, yeah, we will see you all later, and go Pack.